Hey, we're live, we're recording. This is the final episode. I've reached my limit with this game. I cannot continue playing it right now. So, we're going to gather koroks seeds. And I figure I'll just go over my problems with the game. Mostly so that I can upload the tier list on the main channel without being overwhelmingly negative. Because I don't want to be negative about this game. I never wanted to be. It's not that, you know, it's got all the problems. Oh, gotcha, bitch. Oh, that's right. Totally had enough time to do that, too. So, I mean, the first thing to talk about, right, is obviously weapons. Why do weapons break? And, like, you can go over this from a lot of angles. I don't get it. Like, maybe my brain is just not wired the same way most people's are, but there's no point to it in either of these games, really. Like, in the first one, the thing that everyone said in the first game was, oh, well, weapon durability isn't a problem because you never ran out of weapons. And it's like, well, what the fuck's the point of it then? If you're not running out of weapons, why would you make them break? Functionally, if in this game I can always just break this thing and find another, and it's not difficult to do so, it's just tedious, then what is the difference between just having a permanent weapon? There's like no difference. There really is no difference, right? I guess on the topic of weapons, that's another thing. Link aims really weirdly in this game. You can't really reliably lock onto anything because of the fact that the Z targeting is very finicky. Which is also in part because of the fact that they've removed Switch targeting. Ironic on the Switch, right? But basically, you can't hold down. You can't press to hold anymore. Which definitely harms it. So Link aims, when you don't, like, aim, it's way off. Fucking, get fucked. Now, I do think that they nailed that. You know what, fuck it, this is the last time I'm playing this save for a while. What should we put on this fucking sword? This is a good segue. Alright, so I finally find, like, this cool fucking sword, this gloom sphere. I put this thing on it. Look at this. It's fucking rad. It's sick. It's epic. It's awesome. Like, I want to use it, but if I use it, it's gonna break, and then I'm gonna have to find another. It's gonna be annoying. And it's, like, not even that good. It's, like, very fragile. And, like, it's decently powerful, but it's still outclassed by in-game weapons. And it's, like, it still breaks. Like, I like it because it looks cool. It's not... There's just no point to it. It feels really awful to get, like, a unique weapon, like the fucking... Schmidt-Moore of the Seven. The fucking Boulder Breaker. The light scale trident. It feels awful to get these cool weapons and then know that they're just gonna shatter into a million pieces. Like, and I think the argument that most people try to give for this is that it's like, oh, it's pixels on a screen, but like, why even play a video game at that point? Like, why are you playing video games if you're not like into the thing you're playing? There's no point to it. Like, if you're not into what you're playing, why are you playing it? You know, there's no point. Like, I know it's fake. I know it's a dumb video game, but it's a dumb video game that can look cool. That's why I'm dressed as this goober, because he's cool. It's from the original Legend of Zelda. Alright, where is this? What did I mark? Oh, there it is. Real quick, we need to count. I have given Hestu every Korok seed I have. They're not in my inventory. Which... Where's my last travel medallion? Where is it? I put it back in... Yeah, there it is. Would love to be able to check this some other way, but you actually do have to fast travel to check how many Korok seeds you've collected. 421. So I found all of the upgrade ones on my own. I'm curious to see how many I still have to find in the world that I've actually organically found. But weapon durability, right? It's pointless. It feels bad. And the third part is that the more that you look at weapon durability... What? Okay. Weapon durability, however, is a necessity in this game because of how empty the open world is. So, when you look at the map, right? When you look at how many Korok seeds there are, and you zoom in and you notice that there's... Basically, anytime you drift in a general direction, you're going to find one very relatively close to the next one. And whenever you see it like this, it's much easier to pretend like the world is actually full of things to do. But realistically, the only reason you find Korok seeds are because they decided to make the weapons break. If the weapons didn't break, there would be very little, there would be much less incentive to actually explore this open world. Because you wouldn't find anything worthwhile. The reason the Koroks are worthwhile is because the weapon system is shitty. So it creates this really, like, horrible feeling of, like, you explore, you find Korok seed, it reminds you weapons break, then your weapons break and it feels bad still. It's really bad. And if Korok seeds didn't break, or if weapons didn't break and you didn't have to find Korok seeds, how barren this world is would feel much worse. I'm gonna put this on, when I actually make the tier list and I have everything pulled up, like, on ready to go, I'm gonna pull up the interactive map, and if you just fill out the interactive map with everything but Korok seeds, it is actually less full than if you put just Korok seeds on the map. The team really struggled that badly just trying to figure out anything to put on the map. And the reason I think that this is such a problem and that it's so worth critiquing, right? Whereas I was willing to give Breath of the Wild more of a pass for a lot of these problems, is because Breath of the Wild took 6 years to make. And they got that game all the way to where it is now in those 6 years, right? But this game also had 6 years and then stole the entire map and physics engine and everything from Breath of the Wild. And they basically just delivered on it like basically the same. They added the depths, but the depths are pretty barren too. There are no sky islands. There's like, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know a word for it, but it's not an island. It's minuscule. And, when you look at that, they have all this size, but everything you're doing is repetitive. You're finding Korok seeds, which are never feel good, because they just remind you weapons break. And then, like, see, look at how much distance I just traveled effectively to kill a bird, and then find another Korok seed. You know? Like, I know that you need some open areas like this, but it's still a little annoying. Weapons breaking do have one advantage, which is... I do like how weapons break when you throw them, when they're close to breaking. But at the end of the day, I can't really say if that's... Can you guys get the fuck out of my way? Alright. I guess we can talk about that. Companions are fucking annoying. I love New Vegas, I love Skyrim. I like companions. I just don't like it when they're shit. I mean, like, that's... I don't think that's too bad, right? Like, when you get Boone in New Vegas, it's like this absolutely monumental occasion. Like, if you're a melee player, Boone is just like this, like, unbelievably valuable comrade. He, like, changes how you can approach battles because of all that. Whereas in this game, it's not really the case. They're just kind of there to kind of sometimes hit the enemy. The exception to this is Tulin, but Tulin is inconsistent. So you can't really count on Tulin. This is good. Lionel battles are extremely good in this game. And that's one thing that I think weapon durability kind of does, is it allows for the progression throughout the game to take much longer. So whenever you take way longer to get to the end game where you have all these like busted items and stuff, it does kind of feel better to be able to then go back and just start fucking up things that gave you trouble before. But this has been handled like in other Zelda games too. Like when you get the Bigron sword, or when you get the Great Fairy sword, or even when you get the Gilded sword, those are monumental moments too. Look at him go. This is another problem, and I'm not gonna say if I would actually want it changed or not. Like, look at how much I just skipped with the paraglider. Even in this one moment, how much distance I just traveled just by jumping. And that was all on one wheel too, so it's not like that's because of my stamina upgrade. That's just because the game just lets you do that. I don't know if I'd want that fixed though, because like in this game, it would just be way more tedious if you just didn't have the paraglider. But it's almost like they know that you kind of can just ignore it. That scared me. This is like an okay koroks scene, right? Because you have to actually like time when you jump. So I think that's fine. And I guess the other one you kind of have to aim a bow, so that's something, but like this one where you just ran around is pretty bad. Let's go to this one next. Hello. Nothing much, Hermano. I'm doing pretty good. How's the stream going? I'm not sure. Probably pretty good. It's got a good vibe. What's over here? Oh, it's a backpack korok. So here's another problem. Do I stream other games or this one? I stream whenever I feel like. I've been playing this one for like I think a month straight though. So I really kind of don't like these guys, because these guys either ask you to basically, just give up your resources or whatever. Because you can pretty much always just ultra hand them wherever they want to go. I mean, this is kind of an exception, but usually you can just drag them. And it's usually a question of whether or not you feel like giving up your resources to make it faster. What's my favorite game? Probably New Vegas. I would not describe New Vegas as perfect either. New Vegas has a lot of problems. How long have I been streaming? It says 17 minutes. Do we need to like add more logs so that it'll actually burn? We got another log, we'll just add it to the bottom so it burns really nice. Oh, in general? About a year-ish. I don't remember when I first started streaming. I think it was about a year ago. Probably either July or August-ish. I wonder if you can carry them on the hover bike, or if it'll spin out too much. Nah, I'm good. Sorry, bruh. I appreciate the hustle, though. Alright, we'll put this guy on the back. Oh. I'll say this is also another problem of the game is the blood moon. I think that I get it. I obviously get why it's there, but it feels very bad to play a game like this where a lot of the point is definitely to like liberate Hyrule or whatever, and to kill a bunch of monster camps, and then the blood moon just comes and it's like, well, nope. And then whatever enemies you kill just come back. Especially because they're like literally missions where you're supposed to go like help these people clear out an enemy camp. Oh, he's gone forever. Where was he? He was about here. There's also the fact that a lot of the tedious, repetitive stuff is tied to the blood moons, like the argument against weapon durability, or for weapon durability, is that it's not hard to go just get new weapons every blood moon, but it means you have to wait real time and then walk somewhere to go get it, which is kind of annoying. There's also the fact that it plays a cutscene every time. I've played this game for enough time that I don't need to see the cutscene every time. It's really annoying. I know that that's mostly subjective, but I've seen the cutscene probably like over a dozen times, and it's not different. It's the exact same it has been. I guess this is a segue into another problem, which is star fragments. Fucking, they're very tedious and annoying to farm because of the fact that it's like they put in. If you try to skydive out of one spot repetitively to get the ones that fall, it's almost like there's like a desire sensor and they stop spawning as much in that area. And you have to go to like a different area to get them to start falling from the sky again. And you have to like rotate around them. So it's clearly they don't want you to farm it. But then at the same time you have to farm it to upgrade your armor. I've been playing this game for almost 150 hours-ish. I would assume based off of the Hero's Path mode, right? Because I believe it captures up to 250 hours. And we're about 2/3 of the way there. So I've definitely been playing this for a good bit. And I still don't have the armors upgraded because you need star fragments. You need 9 for these 3. These are 2, so I'll need, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll need 6 for these. And I still don't have all the jewelry upgraded because you need fucking star fragments. And like, if you go and watch my other VODs, I like super spastically run over and grab every star fragment I see as long as it's possible. And I like pick up everything in the game that I see that's like actually worth anything. Like, it's not like I don't play the game to not get some of these items. The game is just that stingy and sparse about it while demanding, like, it has to be at least like 70, if not like 100 star fragments that you need throughout this game to upgrade your armor. And it's really, really, really bad how much they want you to do certain things for the armor upgrades. I mentioned that I don't have all the armor upgraded. And it's because I need fucking Electric Rosalfo Tails to do most of it at this point. Electric Rosalfo Tails, Luminous Stone, and Star Fragments. And how many of those tails do I have? I have 5. And since the last Blood Moon, I have killed Electric Rosalfos here, here, here. These were all pairs of 2. Another pair of 2. 1, 1, 1. All throughout the desert. These things are fucking everywhere. I even started going to the depths and hunting down the electric camps. All of that in the Blood Moon for 5 fucking tails. You know how in Breath of the Wild, you would kill an Electric Rosalfos and you would get an Electric Rosalfos tail? It's almost like there's no fucking... It's literally worse. Like, it was completely functional in the first game. It was aggravating, sure. You know, I didn't like doing it very much in the first game, but it was, at the very least, you could go kill something and get the item it drops. Not like this game where you can kill something and it just randomly won't drop the part it's supposed to. Now, I'm assuming this is a bug. I'm trying to be very nice, and I'm assuming that it's bugged. Because anytime you drop an enemy, you get a horn. It doesn't matter what type of enemy you kill, you always get a horn if you drop it. So I'm assuming you're supposed to get something every time, and there's just some flag or something that's not. That just means that if you want to do an actual like 100% run, you have to wait for this game to be patched. But at the same time, I can't really give them that credit, right? Because as much as I want to give them that credit, that maybe it just isn't patched, right? And so we just need to wait for it. They've been going out of their way to aggressively patch all of the item duplication glitches. So it almost kind of tells me that no, they don't care that the items don't drop, that you need to do the game. That literally that the game just doesn't drop you items that you need to play the game. They care that it's tedious. They're going out of their way to get rid of item duplication that makes things like Rosalfo farming less tedious, but they're not adding in things that make the farming itself less tedious. If I had gotten a tail from every Rosalfos I killed, I would have been done farming 3 Blood Moons ago. I literally off screen like just unwinded and just listened to like fucking YouTube and just played this game mindlessly for a day, just getting tails, and I got like 5 tails. It's fucking ridiculous, and the fact that they're going out of their way to patch item duplication tells me that they don't give a shit about that. They only care that it's annoying and it takes forever. It kind of gets into that whole thing where this game is not designed to be completed. They go out of their way to make this game annoying and frustrating to complete. And that gets into the whole discussion of whether or not you should try to 100% complete a game about exploration. But this game really isn't about exploration. If it was, you wouldn't be finding koroks seeds everywhere. You would be finding, like, interesting things. Right? So, I don't really buy that it's about exploration. There's also the fact that you get very punished if you just explore and you don't do the story. I ignored the depths and the story for like 90% of the playthrough, and because of that, I missed out on travel medallions. If you've played the game at all, you know how fucking important travel medallions are for ignoring. Like, first of all, travel medallions are only useful because of the fact that the game is tedious. Like, you remember in Zora's Domain, in the first game, how there was a shrine literally in the domain right here? You traveled here and popped out, and then you could go somewhere? Well, now it's under there. You have to run over to a ladder or use Ascend. Ascend, which is going to take a cutscene because it's got to jump up, then it's got to swim through the material, and then it's got to take forever to do that. In the first game, in Terrytown, right, there was a shrine, give or take around here, I believe here, and you would jump down. And the reason this worked in the first game is because you weren't supposed to do Terrytown in one sitting. You were supposed to do it over time, and each time you came back and you saw Terrytown building itself, right? But we already saw it do that. Why is there not a shrine here? And this place has the break-apart shop, which is basically the most useful thing in the game. It also has a monster gallery, which is like incentivizing you to like constantly take pictures and come back. You've got the general store. They sell arrows and bomb flowers, which is like really important. So, and there's a cave under there, so they could have put a shrine under Terrytown so you could just ascend right up to where you needed to be. But no, this is the closest shrine. You gotta go all the way over here. They repeated it even though there was no point to this time. It's just tedious. That's like a lot of the choices in this game. Like, okay, there's a Great Fairy thing right here next to this travel point, but it's still further away than the stable is, and it's also uphill. Unironically, you don't need to go to this stable very often. If they would have just switched the geographical positionings of these places, you could glide down to the Great Fairy every time and it would be quicker. And then on the rare occasion you need to go to the stable, you would just walk up. And it wouldn't be that annoying because you wouldn't do it that often. But because you could glide down every time, but instead you have to run over, get around hills. It's really aggravating. But like the travel medallion does help alleviate that like slightly. But at the same time, I missed the travel medallion because I didn't do what the game wanted me to do. So is it about exploration? Or is it that it's it's just a map that you can explore? And if the exploration isn't the point, why is the map so big? I don't really care if the game is about exploration or not. I just want the game to be designed well around that. In the first game, it is about exploration. The story is incredibly non-urgent. Like, you're supposed to take your time. Are we discovering this for the first time? That's cool, I guess. What is there to find here? It's okay. That brings me to another thing, which is that shields are not really that useful in these games. I was already never incentivized to block in the other games. But, like, at least in Majora or Ocarina, you kind of, like, start trying at least. Because, you know, like, well, the shield's not going anywhere. Might as well, right? And then, fucking no. It is going somewhere. In this game, if you block, it breaks. Yeah, see, we picked that up like what, 10, 15 minutes ago. Like in this stream, and it's broken. That bitch is gone, never to be seen again. It's not 5 a.m. anymore, so we don't get the speed bonus. Which, by the way, that's kind of another annoying thing, is why do you only get your speed bonus at night? Let's see, what should we use here? That was nice. I enjoyed the Phantom Ganon fights. There's another problem is all the menuing, right? Obviously. Everyone is complaining about that. I'm not going to say they're not right, but I mean, if you played the game, you understand that it's fucking annoying. I personally just don't mind the menuing that much. It's like a tedious and annoying, sure, but it's definitely necessary. I don't know how you would even begin to do this game without all the menuing, so I'm not gonna blame them. Plus, I like New Vegas, which is like arguably worse. So yeah, I don't really care about the menuing, but I'm not gonna say that it's good. Well, it's raining. So to get even over a gap like that... Oh, it's a race. Most of the races are whatever. I don't think they're too egregious. I think they could definitely be a little harder, but at the same time, it would definitely make it worse if you actually had to, like, if koroks seeds were skill gated. But it's also mostly a problem just because they wouldn't be worth it. What is this? I dedicate this monument to the memory of the souls lost to calamity. This is actually a really cool detail I like, by the way, is the way that this interacts with the world. This is a very good example of how the depths actually do work, is you find this place and it's telling you that this is like a tombstone, so when you go to the underground there's like dead soldiers there. It's a really nice touch. Oh yeah, and we're moving slower than before because the sun is out. If you want the speed movement bonus, you have to make an elixir or food, because no clothing will give you a permanent speed bonus. But have no fear, because if you want to have the bonus that you are stronger when it is hot out, there are clothes for that. Or if you want to be able to get hit with and have your rupees fly out instead of your health, you can also do that. If you want to glow in the dark, you can do that. But there's no dedicated set for moving faster. You can only move faster at night. And to do that, you either have to give up wood, so you have to constantly spam your wood supply and your fire supply. And then beyond that, you either do that, or you go somewhere and pay to sleep, or you have to find a campfire. Which would involve, ooh, where are we? Oh, we passed it. you would have to basically constantly run around, do all that stuff. And if you find a spot that's like pretty conveniently close to a fast travel point, that means you're fast traveling all the time. And the load times in this game just are a little Alright, let's try actually solving this one. Another very important thing to keep in mind about these koroks, especially the backpack ones, is that what I'm about to do and all the effort I'm about to put in is going to get me 2 korok seeds, whereas just going over there and like running over got me 1. So it's not that much better. This is also definitely not going to work, but we can hope. Did it work? It did not work. Alright, do we have an auto build for this? I initially was going to complain very heavily about the vehicles, but I've come around to them. It's just not very, it's not for me, but I don't think that they're that bad. I guess the fan plane. Oh, but the fan plane doesn't even give you a control stick, huh? I feel like the auto builds taking Zonite, though, is definitely something to try and make the underground feel like it's worth it. Whereas in reality, the underground is just Zonite farming. They want it to feel like it's worth Zonite farming, but it's still a little annoying. I get no personal enjoyment out of this, like at all, remotely. I really can't stress that enough. This does nothing for me, but it's not egregious. Get the fuck out of here! God damn. Stuff like that is something that obviously early on, you know, you gotta figure out some way to get them up here, and it's way more difficult when you don't have as many resources. Which is what makes this kind of worse, though, because the only incentive to getting a korok is the korok seed, which is actually really important early on because of how fragile weapons are. And then if you had to like come back later for this one, it would feel way worse, like way worse, because you know that that's like weapon inventory. Like early on, that's a weapon. Like if this was your first korok, right, somehow, and you had to miss it, that would be a bow and a sword that you could have gotten, and you would have had to come back. It felt awful. There's also the fact that even though vehicles are kind of cool, some of them just literally will just disappear after like half a minute or so. The fan is really bad at this. The fan does not last long enough to get you anywhere. So at that point, it's like, why do we even have it? The hover bike will take you anywhere, but that's really like kind of lame. At that point, it's like, why are we not just making the world smaller so we don't have to like spend a giant vehicle to get us somewhere? Like, if the world is kind of meaningless enough that you're just gonna make a hover bike to just go somewhere, why not just take out the space in between? I do think that there's potential for this entire world to be more dense, but it's I just don't think I don't think the Zelda team wants to. And I know that's like a really rude way to phrase that, but like, they had 6 years, again, they had all the framework of Breath of the Wild, and instead of fixing it, they made it bigger. That's the same thing that Bethesda does, and everyone hates Bethesda for it. One concept I've heard leveled against the vehicles in this game is the idea of the dominant strategy. And I don't know if I really care about that or not. That's one of the reasons people try to cite for weapon durability, is if you don't, everyone is just going to use the invulnerable weapon, and no matter how many hits it takes. But it doesn't really change anything, because the dominant strategy in this game is just to make spears. You get a durability up modifier, and then you put really strong attachment on that bitch, and that is basically your weapon cache. So just because weapons break, it just means that I have 20 of the same weapon. So I don't really know if I agree with the whole, like, you can't really have permanent weapons because of dominant strategy or whatever. But the loading times are a little much. I think everyone says that the ability to go from like the Gerudo Desert to the Death Mountain without any loading screen is really nice. But realistically, you're not making voyages that long, right? Like, who actually goes from like here to here in one beeline without ever going in anywhere or fast traveling back to somewhere or going to the sky or going below. So it doesn't really matter that you can go through all this space seamlessly that much anyways, because you're probably not going to. I guess for the like 1% of players that really just run through the game in one go and just never really look around, it's nice. But I don't know if that trade-off is worth it. I think we picked that up, I want to say 10 minutes ago, maybe? What should we put on this thing? Make it look cool. That's another problem. A lot of these attachments look fucking dumb. Silver Bokoblin horns are by far the strongest good attachment that you're going to have later on in the game. I only have this many silver Lionel parts because I farmed the Colosseum, because you have to farm Lionel guts. And Lizalfos horns are good, but again, I only ran into so many because I was farming electric ones. So realistically, the one that I actually have a lot of is Bokoblin's, and that's organic, you're supposed to. And it's the one that looks the dumbest, which is really, really cringe. Oh, it's gonna shatter in like 10 hits anyways. Maybe we should put a black part on it instead. Oh, I accidentally put it up. That's funny. Get out of there, you. Alright. Alright. The fuse mechanic is definitely, the problem is they put the fuse mechanic on there as like a band-aid solution to weapon durability, but not really. Actually, it makes it worse. Because now, for the justification that you're fusing weapons to, like, worse weapons, it means that now every weapon in the game has to be frailer and weaker because of it, which makes it way worse. However, and again, I know this is more so positivity, but one change I actually do like about this game that the rain just made me think of is I do like the increased weapon diversity in terms of their effects. It doesn't make swinging them feel any different, right? You know, this is the same thing effectively as, like, fucking this thing, right? It's the same thing. But the thing I actually do like is that if you look at my inventory, you'll notice this weapon that was previously like 70 power is now like 116 because it's raining. It's like got wet. And that's a pretty cool change. I like that a lot. It makes this super duper powerful because it's raining. And the Gerudo idea that you can't really add much durability to any weapon, but you can... the attachment power is stronger. It's pretty sick. It doesn't change how you use them, You know, all 15 of these spears work the exact same. You know, you take it out and you whack. Or you take out this 122 power one and whack. Or you take out this shitty little one and whack. You know, it doesn't change anything. But the stats themselves do change, which I like. And it creates the situation where you actually like value having sight on. Because how long is it going to take for me to dry out? We can stare at Link being wet for a second. Come on, dry out, you. $58. But if you have sight on, 116, baby. It is kind of interesting. It would make sight on it invaluable. It would actually make it worth farming Zora weapons. But, unfortunately, it loops back to a problem. So, like, I want to go over and touch sight on, right? Why did he run past me? Why is he running away? And, you know, it's, like, a little annoying right now when we're not in a fight. But, boy howdy, does it get a million times worse the moment you're in a fight. You want to use Riju's fucking badass lightning ability? Well, she decided we're not going to. So I mean, I guess not. Look at that. It's fucking sick. But then if you want to use Riju, you have to track her down. And the moment you start running near her, she runs away. And it's fucking aggravating. It's pretty bad. And I think in 90% of cases, I would never ever excuse the interface that the sages use. But I think what takes it from just being like bad to being like bafflingly awful and insulting is the fact that this came after Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild's champion abilities were all contextual upgrades to basic abilities you have, right? You can argue about that if you want. I don't think there's any point in doing that. But Rivali's Gale is essentially a Super Mario jump. You hold jump, and then you crouch and power jump. Urbosa's Fury is just a super powerful charge attack. You charge attack, and then it activates. Daruk's Protection just makes your shield way stronger, right? What's going on, big dog? What's the last one, Mifa? Yeah, hers is literally automatic. You just die and you just get a Fury, right? They're all very... They're upgrades to your direct combat abilities, but the sages really aren't that. They're different abilities. And because of that, you get shit like that. Like, if I wanted to use her, I have to wait for her to stop doing whatever the hell it is she's doing. And it's pretty awful. Tulins is the only one that activates while you're doing stuff. Like Rivali's Gale would, where it's just a super jump. It effectively makes your paraglider stronger, which is pretty good. I actually like that, and it's directly weaker than Rivali's Gale, which gets into something I actually really like, that the champion abilities are just worse versions of the others. I think a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people wish that they were just as strong as the champions, but in the narrative, they need the Sage's Stones to even be on the same level of the champions, right? And so that's interesting. Like, Riju's is weaker, objectively. You do one bolt of lightning, and in the context of these games, it's much weaker. Oh, that's right, I have to wear this. I'm fucking stupid. And it's way weaker in this game. Like, you can't kill certain enemies with it that you could in the first with Urbosa's Fury. And I like that. It's a direct narrative statement that all these people are weaker, and they're getting stronger and helping each other, right? Touching and all that stuff. But mechanically, the fact that you have to run up to each of them is just inexcusable. This, I mean, Jesus Christ, like, there's no way to excuse that. I can't even begin to think of the gymnastics you would have to do to try and justify something like that. It's insane to me. And people really do. This is a good application of the fusion system. I like this a lot. The arrow attachments. The only thing that I think hampers arrow attachments from being really cool is the menuing that you have to do to get to your arrow attachments. Any ice type attachment I believe can, so if I wanted to use the ice I can. So let's go see what other ice type things I have. Okay, we got an ice piece. LOL. Alright. What else do we have? Ice breath horns. What else do we have? Gleok frost horn. Alright, what else do we have? You know what? I don't feel like looking for all the frost stuff I have, so we're just not going to use it. This is the kind of problem that you get with the game. Is there's like a lot of cool stuff, but you don't feel like doing it because you know you have to deal with that kind of stuff. On a positive note, I think that the hidden gem of the fuse mechanic is actually shields, which I don't think a lot of people would think at first. But when you realize how worthless shields are in these games, you realize that you have all this empty space on your shields anyways, right? So why not just shove other useful stuff on it? Like gloom weapons never have any modifiers, so you can just stick those on a weapon and pull them off when you need them. Talus hearts are kind of cool, and for some reason you can't pick them up. So just put them in on a shield and then break them apart. Elemental things basically act as another form of armor. So I have the snow boots on for snow movement, but I don't want to wear the Rito stuff, right? Because it's like tacky. So I can just put on a ruby shield, and it's actually really fucking sick. Another application is like keeping, you know, Demon King bows. They don't have modifiers. Rocket shields are obviously insane. And even though I don't have any more Lionel shields, which is what I put the armor on for fighting Lionels, you can, because for some reason, right, you can't pick up armor shards. I don't know why. I can't think up a single justification for this, but, you know. But you can put them on like a worse shield and then break them apart later. This sounds cool, and I do like it, but it also just makes you wonder why you can't just do certain things like this. Like, if you didn't have a limited amount of inventory space because of the breakable weapons, I don't know that you would do that. And I think that's one of those things where that's where people would go like, oh, see, that's why it's working, but I don't know how much I would miss it. I also believe someone did the math on this. I'll actually look this one up just so to make sure I'm not talking out of my ass. Because I want to make sure when I bash on Koroks that they deserve it. How long is the Korok seed animation? Alright, we'll do this on stream then. The next time I collect a Korok seed, I'm going to look at the stream timer and see how long it takes. And then I will literally do the math to see how long it would take. That's another thing that I like about this game, and Breath of the Wild too. Just being positive, right? 103. $111. So I believe 11 minus 3 is 8, and we'll be charitable and say it's 7. Google calculator. 7 times 800, because there's 100 backpack koroks that are worth 2. 5,600 divided by 60. 93 minutes, or an hour and a half straight of that cutscene. That's a yikes for me, dog. Oh, it's nighttime again. So now that the moon has changed place, we can now put on a stealth armor and move slightly faster. That was not a good example of what I wanted to show. But an example of what I think they could have done instead, which is worthless to talk about. And I mean, I guess we can talk about that in and of itself, right? Is, I think a lot of people really liked to suggest ideas for how to fix Breath of the Wild. But if you played this game, you know that it's like they took those ideas and they specifically rubbed it in your face that that's not what they were going to do. A very good example of this is the breakable weapons, right? So the one suggestion everyone had for how to fix breakable weapons was to give you a weak permanent weapon. The Master Sword at the beginning of this game that you have on the Great Sky Island is 1 damage. And there's a mechanic in the game called the Demon King Bow. The Demon King Bow works by making it so that we need this to actually start activating. We'll activate on a charge attack. No. There's trees up here. We can break it on trees. So the Demon King Bow has a power of 60 right now because I have all of my heart containers available to me. I just damaged it, so it should have dropped, but it's not for some reason. I don't know why. I guess it doesn't work. It's kind of weird, but whatever. Here we go. Yeah, it won't work. But the Demon King Bow essentially works so that when you're gloom, takes away your heart containers, it gets weaker. Or if you get the Demon King bow earlier on into the game, it's weaker. And I like this. That's a very cool decision. So when you see that, you're like, oh, shit, they could have done that with the Master Sword. The Master Sword could have started at 1, and as you got more heart containers powered up to 30, maybe going up to that 60 it was in the last game. Which, considering 108, 122, 76, 58 just from, like, a normal Gloom Sword, that's not at all a high bar, right? But... and that would be the perfect solution, right? They intentionally put it in your face that you have the Master Sword right away, and then they make it break in like 10 hits. And then it never regenerates, and you just give it up. So it's like they went out of their way to say, like... they went out of their way to say that, like, if you wanted that weak, unbreakable sword at the beginning, you're just shit out of luck. And it's very annoying. It's very much like a get over it type of statement at the beginning of the game. But there's tons of choices like that. They introduced the frog armor, which lets you climb things in the rain, but not really, right? You get the frog armor, and you have to upgrade it to actually be able to climb, to be able to be slip proof. So you put in like the work it takes to get the armor, which is going to every different stable. You have to figure, okay, first of all, you have to join the fucking Loki Clover Gazette, or whatever the hell it's called. Then you have to go to every single stable in the game, basically, to go figure out where Zelda is. You have to do all these different quests. Then you have to get the armor. Then you have to go fucking upgrade the armor somewhere else with the Great Fairy, which takes like fucking forever to do. The Great Fairy is not fun to unlock in this game. We'll get to that in a sec. You have to do all this shit just to get the fucking slip-proof armor. And by that point, it's like, why is it in the game? Why did you even put it in the game? The rain causing you to slip should have either been completely overhauled or removed. Adding in a frog armor, which takes fucking forever and a ton of materials and resources to get and upgrade, isn't a solution. It's like they're like making fun of you for wanting it changed. That's why I don't really know if I want to even recommend changes for this game, because the team clearly doesn't want to change anything. They just wanted to make Breath of the Wild again. The Great Fairy system is awful. There's no other way around it. In the first game, you paid rupees. It's very straightforward. Anyone can understand that. And the genius of it is that the Great Fairies operate on upgrade materials. So you have to decide how you're going to get rupees. Do you go and do a mini game? Do you go... Was that a Talus? Something's rumbling. So you have to decide how you're going to get the money. Do you go do a mini game? Do you go do a side quest? Do you go forage for things and sell them? You know, you could go about it a few different ways. You could just already have the money somehow. But yeah, it was like a lot of Breath of the Wild is praised for. You have a lot of different approaches to how you solve it. How do you want to get the Great Fairy money, right? But in this game, you have to go do a fucking... You have to, first of all, you have to join the Lucky Clover Gazette. You don't get the option to do the side quest unless you have joined. So already, alright, we're off to a really bad start. And then... I actually don't mind this that much. I wish they were a little more Rubik's Cube-y, but it's fine. Let's avoid the snow areas. I really don't want to go there. But in this game, you have to join the Lucky Clover Gazette to have the option to do the side quest that the Great Fairy requires. First of all, why? The Lucky Clover Gazette context is there so that he can get the fucking story, right? But mechanically, there's no difference between some fucking dick-ass going, hey, you need to go do this, versus just doing it because you go somewhere and you want to do shit, right? So already, off to a bad start, and then you get there, and every Great Fairy thing is that you have to get the band back together, right? Fucking the boys are back in town, and then all of them are just fetch quests. All three of them are just gather this many items. The only one that isn't is one where the dude is stuck in the ground. That is like the only decent part of the entire Great Fairy side quest. Then from there, you have to get them to the Great Fairy, which is very fucking annoying. I still have bad memories of it, and that was like over 50 hours ago now. They are the only NPCs in the game that are programmed to be as sensitive to the road travel as they are. Everyone else in the game is pretty okay with rocking whenever you drive them, right? There's a woman in Gerudo Town, you have to drive her via Sandsteel Sleigh, and she's fine with it. You bump into something and she goes, oh! But she doesn't stop the quest and make you restart if you hit something in a game as janky as this. But whenever you go to do the Great Fairy things, the most important escort mission where you get the best reward for it, every fucking time you bump into something, the fucking fat little cunt goes, oh, the boat is capsizing. We're going over. And it's fucking aggravating. It's annoying. It's not how every... Is it gonna... There we go, that's what I was looking for. That little poof. That little poof that plays before it transitions into cutscene that you have to sit through. All it has to do is poof, and then on screen say 1 korok seed, and then you can just go back to running. I actually don't even think it should interrupt your gameplay at all. You should be able to move while it goes dun-da-da-da, and gives you the korok, and then just keep running. If koroks are going to be as worthless as they are now, where they're just weapon upgrades because of the fact that weapons break, then they definitely should not take that much time. And then Great Fairies, right? Once you get them activated, not only are the upgrade materials worse this time, they need more of them, and they need more varied types of items for them. They charge you fucking money for it. So it's like, god damn it, you basically have to know exactly what you can afford to sell in this game. If you don't, upgrading shit is going to be nearly impossible. I am like really fucking weird and my brain is defective. The fact that I am willing to do as much as I am to upgrade stuff in this game is a sign that something is wrong with me. Right? A normal person should not be expected to do as much as the Great Fairies ask of you. I don't even think children should, because this is supposed to be a kid's game, right? That's what everyone does to defend any problem you have with this game, is saying it's a kid game, right? You shouldn't be conditioning kids to do this shit. Like, if you really want to try and just hand wave every problem I've ever raised in this episode, this VOD, this video of Dookie, then yeah, kids shouldn't be expected to do this tedious, mind-numbing shit either. And the biggest sin that the Great Fairy commits, worse than the escort missions, worse than the cost to upgrade everything, worse than the amount of rare drop materials like Lizalfo's Tales, the Great Fairy needs weapon attachment items to upgrade armors. What's the point? If you're going to add things that are explicitly in the game to attach to a weapon, why do you use them for armor upgrades? when there's fucking tons of this worthless shit down here that you can use. You know how many armored porgies I use to upgrade armor? None! You know how many silver bokoblin horns, these dumbass little things that are made explicitly to use on a weapon that I use to upgrade armor? I've used at least 20. I had to have used at least 20. You use them for, I believe, the Hylian set. You use them for, I believe, a Royal set, or the Soldier set, I can't remember. You use them for 2 different armors. They're weapon attachments. They break off of enemies for the specific purpose of putting them on a weapon. What is wrong with you? They intentionally made the system fucking aggravating and annoying. And this gets back into another thing that everyone tries to do when you criticize the game for being tedious to complete. Is they say, well, the game isn't supposed to be completed. If the game isn't supposed to be completed, why is the game there? If you're not supposed to do everything in a game, why am I paying for $70 then? Like, if I'm not expected to do all of this, then fucking take out the nonsense and charge it for 60 or 50 instead. See ya. Oh, damn it, the next one is really close. I can't just yeet out of here. Okay, that was funny. There are good moments in this game. I obviously wouldn't have played this for 80 hours, but 150 hours, however many I played it, I don't remember. I obviously wouldn't have played it for that long if I actually hated it. It's just that a lot of decisions in it are baffling. And a lot of them are, like, intentionally spiteful. Like, weapons. It's like, okay, weapons break too quickly. Everyone complained about it. So what did they do? They made every weapon in the game shittier and break faster. Everyone hated rain, so you have to get your rain armor in the most, like, convoluted, annoying way ever. Look at this. 2 Korok puzzles within eyesight are literally copy and pasted. The only reason there's any tension in this is because I'm running away from a boss. Yeah, he's over there. He can't even get me. Look at that. If you get up here, can you see both of them at one time? And that's the problem with the big world, is it's just copy-paste. Yeah, you can literally see both of them at the same time. Copy-pasted. Eyesight. The world is too big for these, for the developer to actually put stuff in. That's why koroks are in the game. And I don't really care. Like, obviously I do care, because it's annoying, but I don't care if the world got smaller so that it was more interesting. I think a good example is the snowy areas. Right? Look at this. Gerudo area, Lanayru, and Hebra. They're all just snowy areas that are barely visible, frigid cold, and basically nothing to do. You run around here for the Gerudo statue. You run around here for the story is one time only, so I'm not counting that. What do you run around here for? You run around here for upgrade materials and Heifer Plunge and Tama Pond. And then you come over here, and what do you explore Mount Lene route for? You explore for the Spring of Wisdom. And, yeah, so if you just condense all of them, and then put them where the Gerudo part is, and keep Tabantha here as the north part of the map, this place would be dense. Right? You'd find the Spring of Power somewhere, then you'd find Gerudo ladies, there'd be some story shit with Dorito. There'd still be underground caves, hot springs. It'd be so dense. It'd be so fun to run around it. It would be worth it to deal with the cold, but it wouldn't just be annoying. Kind of sparse. Farron is another example. Farron is very redundant. It's just the rainy area. I kind of get the beach, but the rainy jungle part is worthless. Lanayru is already the rain area of the game. Even without the Divine Beast there, it still just rains a lot in this area. So, having 2 rain areas is very bad, especially in this game. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the tropical vibe, but it is just kind of worthless a little bit. That little poof. That's all you would have had to put in. But yeah, there's cutscenes for everything in this game. Trying to upgrade stuff to Great Fairy is like that. And I think the argument that people try to give is that you don't need to do it, so it can be fine. But that just goes back to what I said about, like, well, why do you even do it then? If you don't need to do it, why is it in the game? And if you don't need to do it, it's not fun to do it, then no one gets anything out of it, except for the developers wasting their time. But like, the reason that I'm not really sure that actually suggesting improvements is worth anything is because the developers had 6 years. One of the most well-funded companies on the planet literally reused the entire map, right? I don't personally care that they reuse the map on its own. It's more so that it's a contributing point to stuff like this. But, like, literally 1 for 1, they took the map and tweaked it, right? You don't have to be a game design whiz to understand how much time that saves. And then they already had this entire groundwork. They had every Zelda game ever to draw on, right? Like, for instance, the water area. Traversing water sucks ass in this game. They had Zora Link to draw on this time, right? They could have implemented Zora Link. They could have implemented the Wind Waker boats. They could have implemented a lot of things, right? They could have implemented all that. They had all of Zelda drawn. They had the entire map of Breath of the Wild to draw on. The physics engine was already created. They only had to add and change how certain things worked. Like, I don't even think they changed how anything worked. They just had to add new effects. They just added, like, pine cones, which is, like, kind of cool, I guess. And then I don't know what else they added, but they just, you know, they already had that to work on, which originally took them a whole year of Breath of the Wild's development. Something crazy like that. I think the physics engine alone took them a year of Breath of the Wild, because Breath of the Wild took 5 years to make. They had 6 years to work on this game, and allegedly they were done a year in advance and took an entire year to polish it. And it's still like this. It's still sparse, still empty. You know, underground is even worse in terms of being empty than the surface. Sky islands don't exist. They don't really want to improve the game. If they were happy with this game and how it, you know, came out, that's just a sign to me that they don't want to improve it. I mean, that's fine. There's tons of people that like Breath of the Wild, and if you don't mind playing the same game over and over, then, you know, this is going to be the game for you. But, like, you know, I don't really want people... Wait, what? Oh, back here. And it's like, that's fine. You know, I know that, that was cute. That was not. I like Pokemon, you know? I like Pokemon. And, Pokemon has been the same game for 30 years. You know? And, you know, all I'm saying is there's literally a video online about quality versus quantity. Pokemon versus Tears of the Kingdom. Scarlet and Violet versus Tears of the Kingdom. And it's, they're closer than you'd think. I don't know if there's a problem with that. I enjoy each Pokemon game up until, like... I think Sword and Shield is the first one that I just start not liking. And the others look so bad I haven't even tried them. Just because Sword and Shield was kind of that level. But, like... I don't know. I don't mind if something is just an iteration. If something is good, you don't gotta change it, right? But... the problem is, I don't know if Breath of the Wild was, like, something that didn't need to be changed. Like, Ocarina of Time was the template, but I also think Ocarina is fucking amazingly solid. Ocarina really does just need tweaks and, like, spicing up. But Breath of the Wild was, like, majorly flawed. It, like, needed a lot of changes, and they didn't. And I'm not sure the team wants to. There's like a whole idea, right? If you gave, like, the Bethesda team an extra year of game development on a game, would they fix the bugs or would they add stuff to the map? Would they make the map bigger? And the Nintendo team that did this really is taking the Bethesda approach. They're not actually, like, improving the game. They just keep adding to it. Protect me, bugs. You look like a gentle soul. Are you enjoying it? Here's a fact about bugs. Oh yeah, Tink. I think Beetle's kind of an example of, like, rubbing it in your face and nothing has changed. In the first game, it was fucking aggravating talking to Beetle. Because he would always harass you for whatever beetles you have in your inventory, right? He would literally go like, hey, I see that you have a beetle, will you trade it? No. And then he goes on this fucking spiel about how, like, oh, I'm gonna fucking steal it from you. And it's like, okay, the first time it's a little cute, you know? But then it plays out every single time you talk to him with a beetle in your inventory. And in this game, did they take it out? No. You know what they did instead? Instead of taking it out, they made it so that if you buy bugs from him, which he sells, he gives you another rant. Do these replace one another? No. Every time you talk to Beetle, he's gonna go, hey, can you give me that bug? No? Why not? Maybe I should steal it from you. And you're mashing through it. And then you go to buy the bug from him that you need because of the armor upgrade system, right? Yeah. Kind of bad things intersecting. And then he goes, oh, did you know bugs are creepy, gross, people don't like them, but you know what, I like them. And you're like, shut the fuck up. You're really just trying to get through the game and people just won't shut the hell up. You didn't like Yiga clan members? You didn't like the Yiga clan members attacked you everywhere, did you? You didn't like that? Well, not only do they attack you everywhere, but anywhere that you wanted to go that you were interested in from the first game, they're all over the place. They're all over the place. Their hideouts are still there, and they're fucking everywhere in the depths. You didn't like the Yiga clan? They're here to stay. And that's just, it's everything about this game, man. It's like they want to rub it in your face that they're going to do what they want to do. And if you don't like it, fucking leave. But it's like, if that's the case, who are you making this game for? It's like they're making the game specifically for the people who will eat anything they make and just not question it. It's just, it's so weird. The Breath of the Wild was hailed for being like this innovative new game that like every other game, even now, is still trying to emulate. Genshin Impact exists because of it. Elden Ring exists because of it. Scarlet and Violet exists because of it. Bayonetta 3 exists because of it. Fucking, I mean, you can just keep going from there. Every game is trying to be like Breath of the Wild now. And they finally have the chance to take the sequel and improve it and show that they can do it better than anyone else. And they just do the exact same thing everyone else did. They just copied Breath of the Wild. They didn't fix it. They didn't improve it that much. And the fact that there are areas that are worse is like unexcusable. Like, I really want to emphasize how much 6 years is in game development time. Fallout New Vegas, my favorite game of all time, one of the most infamously rushed games ever, was given 18 months. That is 4 less years than this game had. With arguably less groundwork done for them. They basically had the Gamebryo engine to use, and that was it. This game took not only the physics engine, the art style, all of the pre-done assets that they've reused for this game. They took the entire map. The jump from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom is smaller than Fallout 3 to Fallout New Vegas. Majora's Mask is a game that reuses assets. And it was made in under 2 years. Reuses assets. Has 4 dungeons, like Breath of the Wild did. It takes the idea that everything in the game is reused over and over, the repetition, and works it into a nice system with the time travel, right? 2 years. Fucking every single PS2 Ratchet and Clank game was made during crunch. Those games still hold up. A lot of people praise Ratchet 1's level design. Everyone calls Ratchet Commando 2, Going Commando, an amazing game. And I think Up Your Arsenal is one of my favorite games I've ever played in my history, like all of gaming, right? Now, is it good that these games were made on short times? No, right? Obviously, if you go and look into any of them, they all have the same stories about the like stress it causes to do that. But imagine if those people that made those beautiful games, made those amazing games, imagine if they had the time this team had to dig around and add this shit. You know? It's a little soul-crushing. I think the biggest reason I have such a hard time not feeling the negative effects of this game is because of how much I wanted to love it. This is the most excited I've been for a game in a very long time. I try to keep my expectations of games very low, just because I don't know. I just try to keep them low because I know that it's like hard to deliver on good game experience and all that. But I was very excited for this game. And the one thing I heard that was what convinced me is everyone said that it fixed Breath of the Wild's problems. And did it? Not really. Weapons still break. The world is still empty. Upgrading armor is still tedious. The side quests are worse. They're even more fetchy. You know? One aspect I do think they improved, to be positive, is shrines. But even then, hilariously enough, that's more of like a contrarian take. People are pretty split on the shrines. I think that they're better, and I like them, but a lot of people don't. I don't know if the temples are better than Divine Beasts. I think that the actual interior of the Divine Beasts are worse than the interior of the temples, but I think that to get there, you had to give up the boarding sequences, which were amazing spectacle. They're not very deep by any means. I'm not going to pretend like they were, but the spectacle of boarding Divine Beast Von Aboris is like the top 10 Zelda moment. Like, there's everything about it works together so well. And you give all that up. I don't really know if I want to say that giving up the ruins is a loss. I will say that I think bomb flowers are just straight up better than the ruin. That might just be me. Magnesis is entirely replaced with Ultra Hand. Like, completely replaced. I don't think Recall is actually much better than Stasis. The only reason people didn't really like Stasis was because it ate through your weapon's durability. In a game without weapon durability, Stasis would be like way funner. It's just another element of the games that weapon durability impedes. The puzzle solving you can do with Stasis. I'm not advocating for Stasis Plus to return, though. This game actually did make me get slightly better at the game because Stasis Plus was not in it, and I'm actually grateful for that. Stasis Plus is like dumb broken. Stasis Plus should be like a type of thing you get for collecting all the koroks. It should be like some end-game monstrosity ability. Either that or it just needs to be like significantly nerfed. Stasis Plus was dumb. I'm not even about to pretend like I want it back. Because it really does devolve all concept into freeze, and then hit with an ice ability, and then repeat. Let's see, what else is there to talk about with the ruins? You don't realize how much you miss Cryonis until it's gone. That's all I'll say. Which, by the way, talking about water and stuff, why is there this giant empty portion of, like, the ocean? And then the water temple is in the sky. It's a little odd, right? Like, that can't just be me, right? Like, it's a little weird. Like, yeah, you give up these 2 Korok seeds, but I think that's a sacrifice we're willing to make so that the water temple can be in the, the water. I'm just saying. The lightning temple being here is also kind of weird, considering that there are explicitly 2 entire islands dedicated to lightning. The Thunderhead Isles and Dragonhead Island, but it's also weird because it never ever rains or lightnings here. But it's almost like they took a look at this and they realized how empty this portion of the map is and they tried to fix it. So at least there's that. Personally, I think the Spirit Temple should have gone here and the Lightning Temple should have been in the sky. Another thing, why is this the only Great Sky Island? Look at this. Look at what they did to my boys. Now, okay, I'm not even gonna pretend. Starview Island is sick, right? I think that Lightcast Island is a very cool idea. I like this as an isolated island. I think that if they did it once, this would be incredible. The problem is there's 3 islands, copy and pasted, they're all the exact same. You dive down, and you have to do the trial to get the armor. So, bare minimum, you have to do this really cool event, like I think 6 times. You're probably going to mess up at least once or twice on one of them, so like probably like closer to 8 or 9 times. And it's just the repetition of it that kind of drags it down a little bit. I do like that the King Gliok platforms are very, maybe not here, but like in these 2 corners, they're very intentionally out of the way, so that you have to like get there on your own terms and then still fight the Gliok. It's very cool. The mazes are all really lame. They can still be solved by just climbing to the top, and they're done 3 times. The first time you do one of these... Where are they? The first time you do one of these orbs... there is one. The first time you do an orb one, it's very cool. But it just gets done over and over. By the 3rd one, you're like, okay. I do love how these work. The Ascensions. It's very cool. But again, another orb. Another Valor Island. So they have the Zonite Forge Island where they make weapons. These are where you get weapons on blood moons. So why is the weapon forge down here in a completely unrelated area in the depths? The place you get Zonite smithing done isn't on a giant sky island called Zonite Forge Island. It's at the Spirit Temple. You know? It's like baffling. The depths are horrible, but I mean, like, that's one thing people are a little... I want to say that they're willing to accept that they're bad, but there are some strange creatures out there that say that it's a whole nother map. And I mean, if this map impresses you because it's big, then I mean, it sure is big down there, but... yeah, I don't know. I think the reason Blackreach works is because it's like one area. Right? I know that this is the boring answer, but Blackreach works because it's one area. It's not the whole map. Blackreach is explicitly not the whole map. It's like maybe 1/10 of the Skyrim map or something like that. And it works because it's big to explore, but it's just the right size. You don't get sick of it. I personally get sick of it. I don't really care for the whole dim aesthetic thing down there. But like, it's not too big. You know? What is it, cold? Yeah, it's cold. On the topic of things I like, not just being a horn dog, I do like Link's design genuinely in this game. I think that as far as androgynous characters go, Link is interesting. The really super weird schizo take is to say that like Link being androgynous in this game is grooming children, which I don't really get. But I do think that that's not really the case, because if you go back into the design history of Legend of Zelda, There's things about like how even far back as like Ocarina of Time, Link is designed to be like a masculine woman or a feminine man, so that all players can identify with Link. And I think that's interesting. I also think that even though you might not think it at first, this is one of the games where Link has some of his most personality. And I like that. Gibdo bones. Gibdo bones are a good example of the Silverback Goblin thing I was complaining about with the Great Fairies, right? Okay, these are obviously weapon parts. Gibdo bones are obviously just pure arrow attachments. They have 40 fuse attack power, but they shatter in one hit, so you're supposed to use them for arrows, right? And that's cool. You get like super strong arrows, but then a bunch of armor sets need them. So even though they're not that hard to get, whichever ones you got during your time where they were abundant, right, during the sandstorm, they get eaten up by armor upgrades, so you can't really use them that sparingly. This is another cool thing. You can do this. The game never tells you you can do that. Like, ever. And it literally makes every area with stall enemies, like, very doable. Because before that, you have to, like, spam your good weapons on them, even though they're shitty and break into attacks anyways, and it feels awful. That's another thing I should complain about, but I don't know if I actually care about, is bows are strong as fuck in this game. For whatever reason, they decided not to have bows be affected by the gloom. So all these are just like good condition bows. They last forever. Bullet time is extremely strong in this game because of rocket shielding. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So just kind of for free, you can, well, okay, maybe not there. Yeah, you can pretty freely just, you know, at any moment, create bullet time. And then because of weapon attachments, what, do you want to freeze your enemy while you're in bullet time so you can get an extra hit off? It's a little nuts. Personally, though, that's one of those things where it's like, is that a problem because I'm abusing it, or is it a problem because weapon durability makes it so that using normal weapons is less satisfying, right? Do you get more tempted to use the overpowered bow because of how fast all your weapons break, or is it because it's the strongest? And I honestly can't answer that. I'm not sure. You gonna quit freaking out so I can talk to you? No, I didn't hit get on there. Oh, that's the one we just did. I just didn't mark it off. I can't even keep track of where the other one was. I know there's another one around here, because I kept marking it by accident. There it is. I think I'm wrapping up, because I think 2 hours is really pushing it for just complaining. What I really want to emphasize more than anything, right, is that I was unbelievably hyped over this game. In a way, it is definitely not fair to this game that I had expectations of it. But that gets into the whole argument of, should we have expectations over games at all? I think yes. Right? You don't go to McDonald's, and then when the person does a shit job at making your food, go, well, I mean, that's my fault because I wanted good food, right? The problem is, you can defend this however you want, but I paid for it. So I kind of do have a certain level of expectation because of that. If this was like free to play, now absolutely this game would be like a 10 out of 10. But I paid $70 for it, you know? I think that the reason it just bugs me so much is because a lot of they like bragged about how they polished it for a year, and they had 6 years, which is a lot of time for a game. And they have all this groundwork already laid for them. In the Zelda franchise, they could have taken from other games that have emulated Breath of the Wild so much, and they just didn't. This is by far going to be like the worst received thing I've ever uploaded on the internet. I don't know. Things like just like what I suggested with like taking out the mountains because they don't achieve anything different, stuffing them into one slightly bigger Gerudo mountain and condensing all of it. Condensing like the grasslands content into Lanayru. Making Central Hyrule like actually dangerous. You could do a lot, but I think it's been made abundantly clear that the team doesn't really want to do a lot. And I don't know, it's a bummer to end it on that, but I just don't really know what they want to do. I guess I could complain about the story, right? But I mean, like, it's just a mediocre kids game. That's the story. I think that people really get a little too into the story. They don't really take a step back and see it for what it is. I'm not gonna rip on it too hard. I appreciate the story. There's a moment, which we can actually just go to that, right? There's a moment where I hope we can fast forward. No.
Allow me to offer you my
But there's this moment. This is a Palpatine has somehow Palpatine return a moment.
For taking so long to
And it's genuinely it's genuinely so bad that it made me laugh and it put me in a better mood when I was playing the game. And you know, that's enough. I think that the theme of the game is definitely sacrifice. Link as a character revolves around the concept of sacrifice. Zelda sacrifices, Ganon sacrifices, but all those sacrifices have different impacts on the world.
Receiving such an appeal from you, a hero to his people and a king by birth, well, is truly reassuring.
He's literally just staring at his wife's tits. What's wrong with this man?
Ancestors first descended upon me.
Yeah. He literally just starts roasting them.
And now you rule as king, and have taken a Hyrulean woman as your wife. Your Majesty has certainly risen above your admirable lineage. most impressive. It is unfortunate that the noble Zonai no longer grace this world with their presence.
He's literally like, yeah, your people are fucking extinct.
Your sister, that is.
Even if something were to happen to me, both my kingdom and the peace it brings, these will endure for generations to come. Your actions today are appreciated, Ganondorf. I look forward to your future endeavors. You may leave.
Your Majesty.
And then he fucking walks around and flips the arm and walks off dramatically. And fucking Zelda.
King Roru, I believe that man's heart holds many dark ambitions.
It's a story you can laugh at. It is that bad. But you know what? I don't care. It's goofy. I think that the cutscenes are all generally pretty bad. Blood Moon cutscene is pretty bad. These memories are pretty bad. I think that the story is technically fine. It's just, why is it out of order? This is not a non-linear story. This event causes this, which causes this, which causes this, which causes this. These are not all disconnected events. They're one story, but it's just told disconnectedly. You know, the one movie I've ever watched that told things non-linearly that actually worked was Pulp Fiction. Do you know why Pulp Fiction works out of order? Because the individual stories are not connected very much. Like, yeah, sure, fucking the mob boss almost gets R-worded by a dude in a gimp mask, and that guy's the boss of the two guys that eat some dude's fast food in his house or whatever, but like, ultimately, those could be their own little 30-minute short movies, and they would all work. They'd all be okay, right? That's not this. This is one story told in 18 cutscenes. And it's just not linear for some reason. It kind of goes back to the whole thing where I was like, if you just ignore the story, you miss out on auto build, you miss out on like weapon forging, you miss out on tooling, which tooling alone is just an amazing tool for traversing the world. If you ignore the story, you get punished by missing out on all these things. Same thing with if you explore the story out of order, it's like devalued. So do they want you to explore, or do they want you to go on this path? I don't think there's much value in doing this weird middle ground where neither side really gets what they want. If they want to go back to linear Zelda, that's not a problem. Like, if you want to make it so that you're trapped in Central Hyrule until you do enough, but that it has the gameplay freedom of something like the Great Plateau, and then you unlock and segment these like different areas, that would work fine. If you want to make it like Breath of the Wild, that's fine, but you actually have to like improve the Breath of the Wild formula. I think that's like the most succinct way I could put it. I'm a no-name. No one cares about any of my uploads. No one cares about any of my opinions. I will never amount to anything in life. I don't design video games. I don't code video games. I don't build video games. I'm not rich. My voice is annoying. I don't edit my videos. I didn't make the video game. What else are people gonna say? What else do people say against stuff like this? What else is annoying about me? I'm uncreative. I'm not really creative with the Zonai vehicles, right? That's a problem. You know, why do I only have 4 favorites if the game gives you 8? Because I'm not very creative. This one's one that the game gives you, by the way. It's a schematic. What's another critique? What else would people make fun of me for? I'm bad at the game, right? I use bullet time too much. What else? We already went over the fact that I'm annoying, I'm ugly, I'm stinky, not edited, I don't make video games. There we go. That's all the reasons people could be mad over this. I played it for 150 hours. You know? If I didn't want to, I wouldn't have. I think that the reason people get so defensive over this game in Breath of the Wild, especially early on, is, and I would say mostly, it comes down to the fact that if you played this game, right, and you invest like half the time I did, you would have literally spent fucking, what, 70, 80 hours? And I think a lot of people are more willing to agree with a lot of the takes I have than I think they even want to admit to themselves. But I think the problem is more so they realize that if they agree that a lot of this is a waste of time, that a lot of this is pointless, that a lot of it's tedious, they would have to accept that they wasted 70 hours of their life, right? And I don't necessarily know if I can... I don't get it. Like, maybe I'm just a doomer, but, like, we're all gonna die. Like, what's the difference between wasting 70 hours of your life on a game that's, like, mind-changing and earth-shattering versus a game that's just pretty good, but, like, not the best? Like, you clearly enjoyed the time. You know? Just enjoy the time. Enjoy the time you spent on a mediocre game. I can't call it mediocre. It's like good. Enjoy the time you spent on a good game. You know? I can't call it great. I can't call it perfect. But it was a good game. I'm going to mostly be praising everything I like about it when I upload a tier list video I'm going to record. So yeah, this was Tears of the Kingdom. And even though we had a really rough end there, don't forget the fucking 40 hours I spent going, whoa, this game is peak, you know? And I mean, this was an attempt to 100% the game. You never ever have to do this much. We already got into why that's really bad design philosophy, but at the end of the day, we can't change that it's already out. So just get as much of it out of it as you want. It's my only advice. Wait, can we end this on like a... Yeah, can we end this on fucking... This fucking... Yeah. Yeah. That was Tears of the Kingdom. And I spent the end of it crying my Tears of the Kingdom about... Okay, that's a really shitty joke. But yeah, I wouldn't have done all this if I didn't love it.